Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Tundu Victoria MKO Abiola.
The newspaper doyen.
Oh, Lord.
The doyen of newspaper.
I hope Emmanuel Efeni is watching. He said, darling Victoria is standing in for him.
I'm doing it so badly. Apologies,
Can I
Mr.
give you
Efeni.
the doyen?
A doyen?
The doyen of newspaper.
Right. So we're going to start with This Day, Nigeria's newspaper of record.
Excellent.
And with threats from Buhari, police, #EndSARS protesters beat retreat. Afenifere, Pandev, others caution FG over intimidation of demonstrators. Soldiers, police take over strategic positions in Lagos, Ogun, others. Also on this day's front cover this morning, above the masthead, 6 banks boost economy with 1.3 trillion naira credits in 2020. FG bows to Labour, reduces petrol price by 5 naira. Amidst concerns over insecurity, President addresses National Assembly Thursday. House rejects call for removal. PDP, it's constitutional. Now to Daily Trust. Knocks as Buhari hails armed forces. You're being misled, citizens. Despite killings, CNC did better in Borno, Zulum. Security forces on alert as #EndSARS protest resurfaces in Osun. Ghana's presidential election results likely out today, and I'm highlighting that deliberately. We could take a cue from that. Police arrest housewife over husband's murder in Bayelsa. That's also deliberate. And I have to say, Daily Trust is always kind enough to let us know how many days since the Chibok schoolgirls were abducted. Today marks 2,421 days. Now, The Punch. Campaigners adamant Buhari talks tough, deploys soldiers, cops. Fresh #EndSARS protest is the heading there. Prepare for more protests. Our demands have not been met, say protesters. Any hooligan hiding behind peaceful protests will be dealt with. President. Police soldiers storm Lekki. Command warns youth. Protesters flay police in Osogbo. Buhari to address joint National Assembly sitting on Thursday. And also here what we're discussing with Reuters, Nigeria's Q3 trade deficit hits 2.38 trillion naira, highest since 2017 NBS. New Telegraph, amidst tension, litigation, APC holds NEC meeting. Leadership tenure, membership registration, top agenda. Oshiomhole vows not to return as national chair. Nigerian Airlines to sack over 1,000 workers. Load factor shrinks by 50%, triggers fare hike. Carriers attribute fare surge to Forex. Reps berate PDP caucus over impeachment call. Opposition seeking Buhari's impeachment constitutional. Daily Sun. Fear of second EndSARS protest. Heavy security deployment in Lagos, Ibadan, Abuja, others. Youth groups protest in Osogbo. Nigerians free to protest, but Buhari. Umahi versus Anyim Ohaneze set up 3-man reconciliation committee. Daily Independent. Buhari NAS meeting won't alter situation. Afenifere, NCF, PDP. President renominates AMCON MD, EDs, appoints new NDIC MD. Driven by COVID-19, subscribers pay 3 trillion naira for calls, data in 9 months. I won't accept APC chairman position if offered again. Oshiomhole. Youths dare FG, IGP resume #EndSARS protests in Osun. Demand release of detained protesters, unfreezing of their bank accounts. Army police in show of force in Lagos. Buhari vows to deal with hoodlums who hide behind peaceful protests. Magu appears before CCB over false assets declaration. Flooding affects 129,000. Kills 68 persons across Nigeria, NEMA. The Guardian. Power grid fails 126 times in 7 years. Government justifies failure, says grid collapse global issue. Privatize TCN, decentralized grid. Gencos, discos count losses. Nigeria at war, in war zone, says Shoyinka. Arewa youths plan protest against Buhari over service chiefs. Activists renew NSAS protest despite threats. Vanguard. FG stops fresh NSAS protests in Lagos, Abuja. Policemen, soldiers storm Lekki Toll Plaza. Protesters heed police warning in Lagos. Stay off protest venues. Lagos police debunk viral video. Tension as hashtag NSAS protest holds in Abuja. Protesters storm streets in Osogbo. Demand disbandment of brutality panel. Protesters will be dealt with decisively in Cross River, CP warns. Says memories of devastating destruction still fresh. Protests fail to hold in Ogun. You're free to protest, but hooliganism won't be tolerated, Buhari warns. Fleeing Boko Haram insurgents operating as kidnappers in Southwest, says NGF. And I think that's most of the headlines. It's all rather grim, isn't it?
Let me comment on just some stories. First, the breaking news that was shown on the screen earlier on. Which is that at a meeting that was held up till 1 a.m. this morning, that the federal government agreed with organized labor, the Nigeria Labour Congress, to reduce the pump price of fuel by 5 naira. And so, what we'll now be paying will be 162.44 naira per liter at the fuel stations. Well, on the surface of it, when I first saw the news on the screen, I thought, well, if we say we're doing deregulation, on March 19, 2020, the federal government announced that, the downstream sector, petroleum sector, have been deregulated because it is no longer sustainable, it is unrealistic, and that the circumstances do not in any case favor sustaining the old subsidy regime that was running into a major drain on the country's revenue profile. Now, but the explanation that has been given is that, look, organized labor had been engaging government. They've had several meetings. And what they decided to do at the end of the day is for the NMPC, which is the main importer, to reduce, to cut off, from freight and from demurrage. So effectively, it has no effect on the policy of deregulation. So the deregulation policy itself stands. The other issue that was considered at that meeting was electricity tariff, which organized labor had also been complaining about. But what we're told is that that will be taken up next year at a meeting in January 2021. So I think that clarification is important because we put it on the screen as breaking news. As for Ghana, yes, the people of Ghana and government of Ghana succeeded yesterday in holding what has been considered a peaceful, well-organized election by all the parties concerned. Although this morning, I saw a story, the NDC, the National Democratic Party, NDP, is planning, Congress, NDC, that's the Mahama Party. They are planning to have a conference ahead of the declaration of results. You took a story from Ghana in which you said, we're likely to see the provisional results today. Yes, that's what the Electoral Commission in Ghana had promised, but it is not likely that they will have the results ready today. But hopefully by tomorrow, the results will be ready. And, the interesting thing about Ghana, as Tokumbo Oyetunji, our correspondent who is on the ground in Accra and across Ghana, pointed out yesterday, is that, look, this has gone on very peacefully. Ordinarily, there would not have been a public holiday, and yet the election will have been held
we need to learn
successfully. So there are lessons we can learn from Ghana. Ghana has one of the most politically stable, governance systems across West Africa. We have had elections in Guinea, resulting in violence and disruptions in Côte d'Ivoire, but it is not likely, that this Ghanaian election would, result in an outbreak of a violence. So there is a different kind of political culture that we have out there in Ghana from which we can learn. And from the way the election was conducted, without undue militarization, without, the police intimidating people without anybody snatching ballot box. We have not had any report of voter inducement, the monetization of the electoral process, the type that we have here in Nigeria. So there are many lessons that we can learn, but at the end of the day, we expect that it will be a very tight race between 76-year-old incumbent President Nana Akufo-Addo and his main challenger, 62-year-old former President John Mahama of the NDC. Yeah. But we keep our fingers crossed, and we hope that at the end of the day, the commendation that Ghana continues to receive from everywhere will also translate in gentlemanly behavior on the part of all the persons who took part in this election in 38,000 polling stations, 17 million voters, and 75 electoral constituencies at the parliamentary level.
Right, Dr. Bat, let me just continue with that glowing commendation on Ghana and touch a couple of other issues. Great one you said about Ghana. Ghana became a textbook for me yesterday. I was reading. I was amazed that a West African country can conduct such a thing. It's so enlightening, even the reportage of their elections. For the first time, I was asking a question about projections. Ghanaians are giving projection based on the provisional results. As at this morning, they had called 54 constituencies out of the 275 constituencies. And you need to see how the report was coming in. Trickling in, they were making projections, putting antecedents. I also saw one thing I hardly see in Nigerian politics, the role of an independent candidate. There was a particular constituency, Famena constituency. The MP representing that constituency was booted out of the incumbent party, was pushed out, and he went campaign as an independent candidate and he got the seat again. They voted for him en masse. You need to see the coordination. Yeah, there were violence too in some areas, some strong posts like Ododo, that used to be the constituency of Kwame Nkrumah, some other areas like that. There were some strong, cases of violence, but they were apprehended by the police. Somebody that was snatching ballot boxes was killed. An MP reported that somebody had tried to infiltrate the ballot boxes with fake ballot boxes, and the electoral officer there came out and reeled it out and showed how fake it was. You can see a great level of transparency. And I kept on saying, is this Ghana? This election was even more transparent than the American elections or the Ghanaian elections. So there's so much to be learned from them. And I said that on Twitter, and somebody was saying, you can't compare Nigeria with Ghana. That's the problem killing us in this country. Why we can't compare? Political will. We just need to be able to make things run. And by extension, till to date, we've not talked about the Electoral Reform Act that we're supposed to sign into law. That's one of it. Today, we talked about airfare prices. I'm sad seeing it this morning. 1,000 airline workers will be sacked.
That is 1,000 families in jeopardy.
That's a bad Christmas for them already.
In absolute jeopardy.
Something should be done. I will honorably beg Ministry of Aviation to have a sit down with these people to be able to ameliorate the suffering. 1,000 people again in the job market. Nigeria can't afford that as at a point in time like this in Nigeria. With this talk about power grid failing 126 times in 7 years, it's abysmal. I hear one of the excuses there is the fact that it's general for grid to fail. We need to rejig our grid system. Our grid system is old. That's why a lot of people keep calling for things like multi-grid. If you produce excess power in this country, you have to ship it to the grid. It's not sustainable. The grid is not being overhauled. A lot of work has not been done on the grid. The grid is almost moribund. Last week, Sunday here, we had a national system shut down from 11 in the morning to in the evening period. So if it's to look at that Power Act of 2005, look at it, allow for multiple grids. Because we can't just say we put everything to the federal grid when the federal grid is not strong enough.
Restructuring.
Yeah.
Again.
I should be able to have a Lagos state grid. You should be able to, whichever Ogun state grid.
Of course.
And provide power for our people. All the power projects must not be shipped to the central grid.
Oh, well. You think it's a wrap on the newspapers?
Yes. You did a wonderful job as always.
Oh, very kind.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.